Welcome to TrampWorld. Courage is stepping up to the stall even when you don't know the language or the dish, because in that small moment you are choosing trust over certainty. You are choosing to let curiosity be stronger than hesitation. The line is long, the smells are unfamiliar, the signs are written in words you cannot read, and yet something inside you says stay, try, lean in. You hand over a few coins, unsure if you are paying the right amount, and the vendor smiles back at you with kindness that says it does not matter. You watch as ingredients are thrown onto a hot pan or pulled from a pot you cannot name, and you realize courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it is simply nodding yes when you feel like shaking your head no. It is receiving a dish you don't know how to eat and laughing at yourself when you spill a little. It is recognizing that courage is not about looking confident, it is about showing up anyway. And what you learn in that moment is that stepping forward even with uncertainty is often rewarded not with perfection but with discovery, because the taste you never expected might become the memory you will never forget. Comfort is found in messy, unpolished moments, not polished experiences, because life rarely gives us picture-perfect settings, and yet it is often in the uneven, the crowded and the noisy places that we feel most alive. Sitting on a plastic stool in a narrow alley with steam rising from a bowl of soup, the sound of traffic blending with laughter from nearby tables, this is where comfort sneaks in quietly. It is not about white tablecloths or carefully plated meals, it is about slurping noodles while the broth drips down your chin, or tearing a piece of bread with your hands while spices stain your fingers. These imperfect details create a sense of belonging because they remind us that food is not about performance, it is about presence. You feel at ease because no one is trying to impress you, they are simply feeding you and inviting you to share a moment of their everyday life. The chaos, the noise, the lack of polish becomes part of the charm because it strips away pretense and lets you rest in authenticity. And when you let yourself lean into the messiness, you realize that comfort has never been about perfection, it has always been about connection. Connection is always served alongside the food because no meal is ever just about what we put into our mouths, it is about the hands that prepare it, the faces that serve it, and the moments we share while eating it. At a street stall, connection happens without effort. A vendor leans forward to explain a dish through gestures, a child giggles at the sight of you struggling with chopsticks, an older woman nods in approval when you savor a flavor that has been part of her culture for centuries. These moments are woven into the taste of the food itself, so that long after you forget the exact spices, you remember the warmth of the smile, the laughter that spilled across the table, or the kindness that came with an extra serving just because you looked like you enjoyed it. Connection is the unspoken ingredient in every dish, reminding us that food is never only fuel, it is a bridge. It builds trust across language barriers and creates kinship where none existed before. Even standing shoulder to shoulder with strangers at a crowded cart, you feel it, a shared rhythm of life that makes you less alone. This is why a simple skewer of grilled meat or a paper cone of roasted nuts can taste richer than a banquet, because connection flavors it in ways no recipe can capture. Imperfection adds flavor and makes the experience real because it reminds us that life and food are not meant to be perfectly polished, they are meant to be lived and tasted as they are. A cracked plate, a wobbling stool, uneven seasoning, or a sauce that drips onto your shirt, these are not flaws, they are proof that the experience is alive. When you sit at a street stall, the vendor may serve you faster than you can keep up, the spices may be stronger than you expected, or the presentation may be messy, but somehow that very imperfection becomes the heart of the memory. You laugh when you take a bite that is spicier than you imagined, you smile when the bread is uneven but still warm from the fire, you feel human when you notice that nothing is staged, nothing is curated, it is simply real. These small imperfections strip away the pressure to have everything just right, and in doing so they free you to simply enjoy. Because the truth is, perfection can feel sterile, it can leave us detached, while imperfection has texture, and texture is what lingers. The unevenness becomes the story you tell later, the messy bite becomes the taste you crave again. And in the end, it is the imperfections that flavor the journey and remind us that authenticity always tastes better than perfection. Openness is the true currency of street food because without it the experience loses its magic. You cannot approach a crowded market stall with a closed heart or a guarded mind, you have to be willing to let go of control and step into the unknown. Openness means trying a dish even when you don't know its name, it means trusting the hands of a stranger who has cooked this meal 1,000 times for their community, it means allowing yourself to taste something new without judgment or comparison. When you are open, every flavor becomes more than food, it becomes an invitation into someone's story. The spices carry history, the recipes carry memory, and the act of sharing carries trust. Openness breaks down barriers because when you show curiosity and respect, people open up in return with laughter, with generosity, with kindness. A simple exchange of food becomes an exchange of humanity, and you realize that the only ticket you really need is not money but willingness. To be open is to say yes even when you are uncertain, and in that yes you discover flavors, friendships, and moments you would have missed if you stayed closed. Street food thrives on this exchange because it is not just about buying a dish, it is about being part of a rhythm that is bigger than you, and only openness can let you step fully into it. Simplicity builds deep gratitude because it strips away all the excess and leaves us with the essence of what truly matters. A skewer of grilled corn brushed with butter, a steaming bowl of noodles served in a paper cup, a fresh piece of bread pulled straight from the oven into your hands. None of these things are fancy, yet they carry a kind of richness that no luxury meal can match. When you sit on a low stool on the side of a busy street and take your first bite, you notice how much joy can be found in something so small and unadorned. There is no garnish, no performance, no curated perfection, and yet your heart swells with appreciation because the simplicity makes you notice what you might otherwise overlook. You notice the warmth of the food against the cold night, the way the spices linger, the laughter of people around you, the care of the vendor who has been making this dish day after day with pride. Simplicity slows us down, it grounds us, and it reminds us that gratitude is not about grand gestures but about being awake to the gifts that are already here. The simplest meals can feel like a feast when your heart is open to them, and it is often those meals that stay with you long after the journey ends because gratitude makes them unforgettable. Food transforms us, it changes how we see the world and one another because it does more than nourish our bodies, it softens our perspectives and deepens our understanding. When you travel and taste food made on the streets of another country, you are not just sampling flavors, you are tasting history, culture, and the daily life of people who live there. A bowl of pho in Vietnam is not only noodles and broth, it is the comfort of generations who found warmth in it during hard times. A taco from a Mexican street corner is not only spice and tortilla, it is a story of resilience and celebration woven into every layer. Each bite becomes a bridge showing us that while we may look different, speak differently, or live differently, we all pause to eat and to share. Food transforms strangers into neighbors and neighbors into friends because the act of sharing a meal breaks down walls faster than words ever could. It humbles us, reminding us that we do not need extravagance to feel connection, we need only to sit together and taste life as it is offered. And when we return home, we carry those moments with us, we carry the laughter we shared with strangers, the flavors that surprised us, the generosity that met us at a stall with nothing more than a smile. Food reshapes us into more open, grateful, and connected people because it teaches us that the world is not so foreign after all, it is one table and we are all invited to sit down. And so street food around the world is not just about filling our stomachs, it is about filling our lives. Every stall, every skewer, every bowl carries a lesson about courage, comfort, connection, imperfection, openness, simplicity, and transformation. It shows us that the most meaningful meals are not always the ones served on white tablecloths but the ones eaten on sidewalks surrounded by strangers who quickly feel like friends. Street food strips away performance and invites us into what is real, and in doing so it reminds us that the heart of travel is not the sights we capture but the humanity we taste along the way. When we step up to a stall, we are saying yes to more than food, we are saying yes to trust, yes to connection, yes to the possibility of being changed by something as simple as a bite of bread or a spoonful of soup. These experiences stay with us long after the flavors fade because they transform not just how we eat but how we see the world and how we see one another. The truth is, food tells stories, but more than that, it teaches us to listen, and if we are willing to listen, then every street corner, every market, and every humble dish becomes an invitation to live with more gratitude, courage, and love.